Welcome to Working for Women, the Independent Women's Forum podcast, where we are changing the conversation about women and public policy for the better.
Hello, my name is Carrie Lucas, and I'm the president of the Independent Women's Forum, and thank you for joining us for this edition of our Working for Women podcast. I'm here today with Julie Gunlock, who is the director of our Culture of Alarmism project. And Julie's here to talk about something that's happening today. It's Halloween, and Julie's here to talk about why parents shouldn't be so scared of Halloween. Usually you think of this as an occasion for kids to get scared, but more and more today it seems like parents are the one who are really worrying and getting all nervous on Halloween. So Julie, what is there to be scared of today?
Yeah, it's really sad. I remember you think back on when we were kids, and parents really had very little to think about in terms of, to worry about they might be offending someone, or, oh goodness, is it okay to let my child have a piece of sugar, or, what are the ingredients in that Reese's peanut butter cup? But today, that's all changed, and parents do have those concerns. I'm sure a lot of listeners remember or saw this week the commentary that you shouldn't let your children dress up as Moana, which is a Disney movie that came out a couple years ago about a Hawaiian princess. I guess unless you actually are a Hawaiian princess, that's the only way that it's culturally appropriate for you to dress up. Another writer warned parents that they shouldn't allow their daughters to dress up as the characters from Frozen. And as you know, I'm a mother of boys, so I have no idea I think it's Ella or Elsa or something. Anyway, they said you shouldn't dress your kid up as Elsa, your daughter up as Elsa, because it celebrates white beauty. So okay, so that's exhausting. So I mean, even if you are not, it's all very, very complicated. And then of course you have the normal group of wet blankets who are saying, this is a terrible holiday and you should be giving out penny rolls and toothbrushes instead of candy. Then you have the people who say that, make sure your children, I'm not kidding you, make sure your children only get the non-GMO candy at Halloween. Can you imagine what these people do? So they go home. So imagine what Halloween's like in their house, right? The kids are so excited. They have their buckets. And you know how kids are. They don't really eat until they get home because they're so intent on getting the candy. And so let's just imagine like this family, right? So I don't even know what you could dress up as, but they're in some sort of culturally appropriate costume, right? They're all worried about that. Then they run home and the parents, dump the bucket on the kitchen table, and they have to, look for that non-GMO label on the sugar-free candy. I mean, it must be exhausting to be these people. So my advice, and I'm finally getting to your question here, is just relax. Just let your kids dress up whatever they want to be. Go out, let them overeat a little. I mean, I tend to tell people, hey, relax about things. But even on Halloween, relax about the sugar content. Let them stay up a little later. Everybody's going to be miserable the day after Halloween anyway. So kids are going to be sort of sugar overloaded and they didn't get enough sleep. But it's one day a year. And it's fun, and you should just really have fun. Yeah,
it's interesting. I also wonder sometimes. I've got kids, and I think that's one of the problems with the whole this kind of crackdown or the policing of things like Halloween, or this attempt to demonize Halloween and this day to eat candy, is it makes candy, so much more interesting. I mean, it's, I feel like let your kids blow it out on Halloween, and they might not be obsessing about it or begging you every day for if you only let them have one piece of candy on Halloween, you're going to hear about it every day for the next month if they want another one. And where is that Halloween candy? And, you'll end up eating it instead, which, I know I don't want that to be the results. I'd rather my kids are going to go run around and burn it off.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, I think about the my children never stop running. They run from one door to the other. They run, we probably walk several miles during Halloween. We always go to a neighborhood party. The parents have a bounce house. They bounce on that bounce house for at least a half an hour before we run around the neighborhood. So, and again, we are walking the whole time throughout our neighborhood. So there is some good behavior going on. But again, I think that you mentioned this, and I think it's important. I think it is important that parents have sort of days where they let go. And teaches kids that, oh, okay, during the week and, most weekends we eat sensibly and we get our vegetables. But then on these special occasions, we have cake, like birthdays, and at Christmas, we have extra desserts. It shows kids a proper, it actually shows them moderation, that on special days you kind of let yourself go and go a little crazy. And then, but through the week and on regular days, you eat sensibly and healthily. And so I think that's a really important message. And I think that's why parents need to relax about it. I mean, I think parents need to relax about a lot of stuff, but I think particularly when it comes to Halloween and special occasions, people should really have fun and not worry so much.
Yeah, and that's, it's interesting because I feel like I'm glad you brought up the issue of the costumes also, because in some ways I find it strange that so much of we're worrying all about the wrong things. This idea that it would be offensive for a little girl to be one of the Disney princess characters, whether regardless of which color one of the Disney princess characters you choose, it's absurd. I feel like I've always been kind of happy that my lily white daughter wants to dress up as Dora or something. I feel like that's good. We're supposed to celebrate things like that. But what I worry about is I think that we're focused on the wrong things. Sometimes I look around and say, especially with, as Julie, I've got some girls who are creeping into the teenage years. Sometimes I look around and say, your parents let you out in that with these, way over the top sexy costumes, and I'm just like, please, let's go back to the Disney princesses. Don't worry so much of the politically correct stuff, but you shouldn't have your daughter dressing in a sexy cat costume at age 12. That's just crazy to me.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. And several years ago, I wrote a piece for the New York Post, which was really eye-opening to research this piece that I wrote. It was about that actual issue, the sexy costumes, and I remember going on. I don't want to name the company, but I remember it was one of these companies that sells Halloween costumes, and it was horrifying. They had I compared, and this is where I agree with the feminists, that the costumes for girls were all sexy, and then boys had legitimate careers, and they looked, and the thing is like, it wasn't a police officer, it wasn't like a Chippendales police officer, right, with Velcro peel away pants, okay, it actually looked like a police officer. Whereas the little girl, she had, I'm not kidding you, it was a short skirt and knee pants, or knee boots, and then fingerless gloves, and it was like a crop shirt. It was so gross. And then I looked at some of the others. I looked at some of the adult costumes, and it was so hilarious. They had like 6 sexy kitten and sexy mouse or whatever, and it said available in child and toddler sizes. And I was like, what? So I agree. Like I think that those are the things that parents should be. It's funny. You're right that they're concerned about. You're not an actual Hawaiian princess, and you have the nerve to dress up as Moana. Like, that's horrible. No. That's not the bad thing. The bad thing is sexy kitten costumes for 3-year-olds.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I totally agree. It's funny. I do feel like we've got such overwrought parenting and this, obsessing about some of this real, these distractions or things I think aren't issues at all, though we're missing some of the bigger pictures, which is, what are the messages, especially, you're right, that, the boys have, very normal costumes, and then you have this, trying to find a nurse costume that's not a sexy nurse costume for an 8-year-old. That shouldn't be an issue, and yet it is. So I think,
I can't believe we even, I can't believe
something. There are some scary things on Halloween.
I guess so.
Yeah. Okay, well, Julie, this has been, go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, as hard as it is for me, the person who's always telling people to relax, to say that, you're absolutely right. Those are definitely scary things on Halloween.
Exactly. So thank you, Julie, for taking the time to talk with us today. And I hope you and your boys have a great Halloween tonight. And to all of our listeners, happy Halloween. There's nothing to be scared about there. Use good judgment and have a great time. Thank you again. Please visit the Independent Women's Forum for more issues more podcasts like this, where all issues are women's issues.
If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, please give it a thumbs up, share it on social media, or stop by iwf.org for similar content.